What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I'm BobbyFi back here with my man, Eric Sheets-Haber. We are going to be doing the NBA DFS breakdown for Tuesday. We have a nice 6-game slate. It's actually, to me, a slate that I like even better than last night. Had some very mixed results, but got crushed on DraftKings thanks to too much Josh Hart, especially swapping him in for Willie Cauley-Stein feels really stupid, giving up those extra 20 points that would have put me well in the money. And then made a nice run on Fanduel. I was literally a Jokic for Jokic for Vucevic swap away from 100K. I had the money to do it too, and it's just didn't do it. I liked Vucevic last night. He had a solid game, but obviously didn't put up the 72 Jokic did. Sheets, how about you? How was your night? I know that I talked about mixed results, FanDuel, DraftKings. How did you do overall, and then what did you find out?
Eric Sheets-Haber, ladies and gentlemen, gets to put the dunce cap on for today. For no other reason than I'm going to stop talking about me in the third person now, that I completely went against everything that I teach you guys when I do these slates, in that you do not fall in love with a play, that every play is a function of ownership. And even when we were going through this yesterday, I mentioned at the end of the podcast, I said, so we have to think about who is going to be that 5 to 10% own, guy that nobody's going to play, that projects just like everybody else who's going to break the slate. And I made the mistake of saying, maybe it's Embiid, whatever. I just had to make one kind of just change in philosophy. And what was wrong going into the slate with Jokic? He was exactly the same as 3 other guys in that area. And I just played absolutely zero of him. I spent so little time thinking about him again. And fortunately, I got punished, because so many times you'll make a mistake and you won't get punished for it, and then you'll just end up making it again. So I am very happy. I'll be more than happy to throw last night's slates to the, sacrifice the virgins to the fires, right? For the learning experience of reminding myself about these fundamentals. So just so you know, it happens to everybody. And I am not like Bobby. I did not have mixed results last night. I had awful results last night, and I deserved it. So the good thing about DFS is you're on to the next slate, and you continue to apply your good fundamentals day after day.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, to be honest, I felt good to cash deep in a tournament without Jokic, who was actually pretty high owned. He was 17.5% owned on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he was about 6% owned in the higher buy-in tournaments. Look, I don't necessarily agree that it was that obvious of a play. Like, I can actually point out, like, if he scores 30 points and has like a really nice night and ends up with 55 fantasy points, a whole lot of things are different. And I don't think that he has to go off for his career high and score 47 points there. I also want to mention that Embiid did get hurt in that game. I'm not saying he was going to put up the same numbers, and he came back and all that. I saw Embiid as a pivot that I thought actually was going to have similar ownership to Jokic. He was about double Jokic's ownership at around 10, 11%. I felt phenomenal about that when I saw that. And, if you would have told me, if you just give him Steven Adams numbers on the other side, it would have been perfect. But anyway.
Wait, I had one other thing to whine about. Not even to whine about. I guess I'll give your opinion on this. Another thing that I don't want to say I messed up. This was an intentional thing that happened yesterday. So I missed lock. And, it was because I, had dinner with my family. I decided not to leave dinner early to check on late stuff. I just decided that. So right after lock, I went and I saw that Beal was ruled out. And, obviously all the Wizards guys were going to be really highly projected. And I made the determination that I was going to be way behind from the outset. You know what I mean? So I already began late swapping and changing all my stuff and kind of going, I don't want to say a little bananas, but taking more stands and doing a little more off the board stuff, anticipating being behind when I wasn't even sure if I was going to be behind. I was a little scoreboard watching a little bit and whatever. And, I ended up doing some good things. I ended up with like 35% Trevor Ariza. It didn't really help me that much in the end. But, it's very interesting to speak to experts who are tracking all night long to see when they have to pivot and when they have to make those determinations. And it turns out I didn't, aside from McCray, who did he smash? Okay, he got there, but at the ownership, he was fine. At least I was expecting him to like bury me. Okay. But it wasn't because I didn't have him that I lost. Let's put it that way.
I had no Jokic or McRae on any of my cashing.
Right. Right.
But I did have McRae plenty. I had 30% of them. I wanted to be below the field, and that was what I was. And I also wanted to get creative with the other shooting guard spot, which I used Levine for. Anyway, we'll get on.
Let's do it. I'm psyched because there's some great stuff coming, and I got some great wild cards. I'm all ready to kill tonight. Let's go.
It's going to be really interesting because we got a lot of news we're waiting for. Let's get it started with the first game. Why don't we call up your screen right now and.
Oh yeah. So let me go back.
Usually we do it before a show, but we decided you have to see our lovely faces first before we.
Yeah, that's going to be vetoed by the public very shortly.
Please start with the screen only. No,
okay.
Here we go. All right, so we got Portland at Toronto as the first.
All right, so Portland at Toronto. Right off the bat, you have a high total game that's a close spread. So it's something that I'd like to be interested in. The guys on Portland are projecting to be just kind of, in the range. I mean, nothing that great. So there's Lillard doesn't stand out really. He stands out in that he's Lillard. You know what I mean? Whiteside doesn't really stand out that much, but he's fine. CJ McCollum doesn't stand out, but he's fine. Carmelo is just, kind of blah. And I'm going to continue to include in my kind of off the board player pool is Anthony Simons until I decide not to, or until they, until I have better options, which I might actually on this slate. He's not going to project well, but he's scoring dependent, but they like to give him run. And, as long as he continues to be low owned, I'm going to put him in my player pool. Again, I don't know if he's going to make it, but he's always a guy I'm going to remember to think about. And on the Toronto side, this could change.
Before you go over to Toronto, let's talk about CJ McCollum for a second.
Sure.
Is he going to play?
I have him as. I'm presuming he's in. So
he was out Sunday with the illness. It's a little bit of a tricky situation to know for sure because these illnesses have been a little bit worse this year. Like usually it used to be like one of those one game things. I also think Portland needs to win every game and try and salvage their season. So you'd think he'd try to play going into Toronto. We'll find out more as the day goes on. And if he's literally with the team, that's probably good enough to assume that he's in. I think he's also a very strong play at his price. I actually like everybody on – I mean, we'll get into your guys in a minute, but I actually like everybody in the starting lineup for Portland in this game. I actually think this game is not a sneaky, but I don't think the Portland side of it will get as much ownership as it should. And I think the Toronto side will probably get too much ownership.
What do you would you prefer to play Lillard in this spot with McCollum out or McCollum in?
Well, if McCollum's in, he's going to have no ownership. But if McCollum's out, he's going to have ownership. But I still think that people might go to Kyle Lowry just as much. So in that case, I think I actually do prefer Lillard over Lowry, all things considered, regardless. Just because if McCollum is in, I just am going to bet on Lillard at 9.2 over Lowry at 8.7, especially needing Lillard on the road. And what happens with these spots with Lowry? Yeah, well, he's going to play 1 million minutes. Well, all these things happen. Does he ever, hardly ever are you going to see him without shooting the ball outstandingly well, put up 55 to 60? And Lillard can have a bad shooting night and put up 65 to 75. We're playing tournaments here, buddy. That's the way I would roll when the ownership's going to be so drastic in one guy's favor.
This is what I kind of talk about throughout my discussions. And when you weren't here, I really pounded this home that, with guys like Kyle Lowry, guys have, while they might project differently, they might project better. It depends on what you're looking for from them. I mean, because Lowry is going to project to have a better median projection with respect to his price than Lillard. He just is. Because of his minutes and because of the amount of times he has the ball in his hands. Not that Lillard doesn't, but Lowry is going to project to have a higher median, and you're going to have to determine whether the upside that Lillard naturally possesses, especially in those back and forth games or when this team's behind and things like that, is enough to exceed that that median advantage that Lowry has. And again, the way I look at it, it's really going to depend on what the rest of my lineup looks like. If I'm going to stack this game, I'll play, a bunch of guys from both teams, whatever, I don't care. But if I'm going to let's say I end up focusing on some other type of game and I'm between a Lillard and a Lowry, for me, I'm really going to just see which kind of guy I need. If I need kind of a safer, guy, I will go with Lowry. If I need more of an upside guy, I will probably go with Lillard, provided that, it's in this weird situation that I prefer McCollum to play, because I don't want to play Lillard over Lowry if they're going to have, if Lillard's going to be high owned in that spot, So it's to me, it's a very interesting situation. But, Lowry is projected to be very highly owned. And, he's projecting as such. So I'm probably going to have some of them. But like you said, Lowry it's not going to be the guy that I'm going to be counting on to get 60 points in this spot, So you like anybody else from Toronto? I really don't like anybody else from Toronto at all.
Well, I think it's interesting to note that I think that Serge Ibaka will have more ownership. Like, I just want to point something out here. Like, even with the guys injured and everything, this guy has still put up above 40 points twice all year. Like, let's not get crazy and play Serge Ibaka at 8.3 when you're really like asking for 5x as like not a ceiling, but like, and yeah, he could get more, but I think it might be a mistake. I do think they're going to need to figure out a way to get some size on the court because of Whiteside on the other side. And by the way, I actually think Whiteside is firmly in play here. They're giving him the minutes now. I think that Hollis Jefferson is probably my second favorite. And I like to do weird things with this. Patrick McCaw is going to play so many minutes in what is actually a good matchup. Now, his overall point per minute numbers, and when Dean reads this up on Grinders Live and everybody talks about it, and he does this point per minute. It's the dumbest way of looking at things because
why is that?
Because who you're playing with. Patrick McCaw was playing, even going back to other years, he was playing with Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. How often do you think he's going to shoot the ball? How much usage are you going to get on that lineup? By the way, how much usage is Kyle Lowry going to get on that team? Anyway, he also then plays with Lowry, Siakam, Gasol. Of course he's not going to be the option, but he's a good enough player to where he gets minutes in all those situations. So he plays a lot of minutes with much better players in the court. Now, this is not the case. Even a guy like Norman Powell not being in, that makes a difference for a guy like Patrick McCaw. I'm not saying that he's going to go nuts. I'm saying there's upside for a guy no one's going to play, and he's probably not going to hurt you. He's nearly minimum on FanDuel. He's 4,000 on DK. I think that he's an interesting piece into this if you want to make a game stack because he's going to play 30 minutes. And I like Anunoby. He's the other one that I think is actually even a better play, but probably will have a little bit more ownership, I'm guessing. I think that a 5.4 Anunoby is in the spot. This is a good matchup against Portland. They don't play defense. You can sort of play at whatever pace you want. We've seen Toronto play both fast and slow at different times. I think that because of all the guards, assuming McCollum plays, you're going to see Portland push the ball. So I don't know. I want to attack this spot, but I want to attack the lower owned guys. I'm not as interested in Ibaka. I will have some of Lowry, but I probably will be below the field. And I'll have probably more of the field of Hollis Jefferson, McCaw, and Anunoby. And then I'm going to throw in just my Chris Boucher shot just because if you're playing multiple tournaments, you got to throw Chris Boucher into a lineup or two.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him. I was going to suggest something similar. Not something similar. I was going to suggest exactly that. That I was going to ask you, what do you think about throwing a couple of Boucher wild cards in? You brought up a really, really interesting point that, again, this could be for another video, but when you hear people quote fantasy points per minute, and I just kind of led you into what you said was, it's all about context, and like, for example, sometimes you'll see a reserve, like someone who plays off the bench gets announced into a starting role, and you'll see, wow, the guy averages, 1.2 fantasy points per minute, and now he's going to be starting. Wow, what a smash spot. But if your fantasy points per minute were accruing with the reserves against reserves, they by its nature don't translate to playing with starters against starters. You know what I mean? Because you get double hit. Number one, the usage cut gets taken away from you, and the defense is better because you're playing against starters. So
especially when the only teams you've ever played on have won a title every single year but one. Right. So of course you're going to be playing with superstars. So just beware that a guy like Patrick McCaw may not be all you think he is. Same thing with a guy like Jordan McRae, who used to play maybe he could throw in 15 fantasy points. Now you see what he can do when he actually has some minutes. Like it's minutes and usage. Like it does change depending on who you're out there with. So we just got to remember these things in context. I'm not saying that Patrick McCaw is going to light it up by any means. I'm just saying he's not nearly as bad point per minute as the numbers would indicate.
I will also say, by the way, before we leave this game, is that I do think that your OGN newbie call, whether it's good or not, I think that you're wrong. I don't think anybody's going to play him. I think with the context of the slate, with Harry Giles and all this opening up all these other options to play more expensive guys, I think guys like that are just going to just be zero.
It's possible, and we don't know about Giles yet, but I just think on Fanduel at 48 and at DraftKings at 5.4, like Anunoby, it's a good pace environment for him. We've seen him more aggressive. He's got the double upside because of the rebounding ability, especially with all these other guys. Just a lot of players missing. He's going to play 30 plus minutes. Like I just think it's absolutely a really good tournament play as long as his ownership doesn't get into like 15%.
Yeah, and just so you know what this is up here, people, if they're wondering, I just made a kind of a list of like the top owned guys as of early in the day, just for me to just kind of look at as I was going through these to make sure I didn't just overlook somebody. So I did see that Serge is actually listed as going to be getting some ownership, and he's exactly his profile is the kind of guy I don't want to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The upside's limited, I think, and ownership is not so low. So, and that's kind of bad combination.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so let's motor on. I suppose to Motor City. Actually, it's being played.
Yeah, we'll speed it up because some of these games are not as interesting. This one actually has a.
Well, I don't. Again, I don't want to overlook too much. Again, once we speed it up, then we end up overlooking the guy's going to smash. So let's just look at it real quick.
Okay.
So, well, as a matter of fact, Detroit, you're gonna. Again, I don't like to be too much of a projection junkie or whatever, but I want to throw out there that there are three guys, at least of now, one of the systems I'm looking at, are projected to be really, really strong. One of them you would expect, and the other two maybe not. But Andre Drummond is looking to be a very good play, as probably almost always is. And, playing because he's playing against Cleveland, because he's Andre Drummond, and because of all of it. So he's projected to be a really good play. And the other two guys, one of whom is a little surprising to me, but I guess is Derrick Rose is still projecting to be pretty good here. I presume all these guys are still going to be out for Detroit, Blake and Luke Kennard and all them. So I guess that's why he's continuing to why he's projecting to be pretty good. So I'll ask you what you think about him, but he is projected to be as a pretty good value, almost as good as these Portland guys. I mean, just on a value basis. So I'm certainly going to think about him. The other guy is Christian Wood, who has been, we played him as chalk a couple of times recently, or haven't played him as chalk a couple of times recently. And I don't know whether it's the matchup. I guess it has to be or whatever, but they're projecting him at 26, 27 minutes or whatever, and he's projected to be a really, really strong value. And if he's not going to get ownership, it's somebody I'm going to continue to take a look at during the slate.
Where are you seeing the strong value? Because I don't have those things.
I'm looking at a different site, I guess. I mean,
you think about him at 5,500, it does get like, I'm not saying there's not upside, but there's like 40 fantasy point upside.
Yeah, and again, it's process, right? So this is what I'm looking at right now. If it turns out that these guys are out of their mind, I look at other sites and whatever, and it looks like it's not that big a deal, I'll get off it. But these are the guys I want to look at.
Yeah.
That and if they do end up low owned, I'll throw them in. And you know what? And here's another thing. Like, let's say that you look at like 2 or 3 different sites and for different projections and different ownership or different whatever. And let's say that there's a little discrepancy between 2 of them, and one of them like really likes a guy or doesn't like a guy. What I'll always do is I'll give a little bit of a break to the outlier if ownership is low. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if one site really likes a guy more than the other guys, and his ownership is high, I'll say screw him. You know what I mean? So I just kind of throwing out what I see.
Mm-hmm. No, and we definitely have different approaches when it comes to that. I think that I think that, I mean, I'm shocked you didn't mention Siko Doumbia. I thought that's where you were going to lead with.
No. Do you like him?
Probably going to be the highest owned player on the slate as of this morning, but I don't think he's going to be. By the time it's said and done. I don't know. I'm having trouble with this game because I don't want to play a chalky guy, even though I see that. So we could just read his minutes over the last three: 27 against the Clippers, 38 at Golden State, 34 at the Lakers. Now, only the Golden State matchup was a good one. He put up 40 fantasy points in that one. He put up 27 against the Clippers, and he put up 19 against the Lakers. Really tough matchup. These minutes seem to be something. It's going to be hard for me just to entirely avoid a guy playing those kind of minutes in a good matchup. But if people are just going to flock to it, I think that you make your waves here with Drummond and Rose. I like Derrick Rose here quite a bit. I just wish he'd get more than 28 minutes. I really think he's going to put up 40 fantasy points anyway, but I think and every little extra narrative thing I think does matter a little bit for Rose, especially when you factor in the usage is going to be there. So he's probably going to be aggressive in a place that he plays. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way it is. I also like the idea of playing Langston Galloway as a long shot play. I think he's a really interesting cheapie who is going to be completely overlooked and could end up being the beneficiary if maybe Rose doesn't get the minutes or even playing alongside Rose. Like, we know we've only seen him around the 20-minute range recently, but it wasn't too long ago where we had him in the 26 to 30-minute range pretty consistently. I don't see why that would have to change necessarily against a team that plays multiple guards. So he or Frazier, I could see being on the court a little bit more than usual tonight. So that's all the guards are interesting, but mostly, again, you want to make your stance with Rose and Drummond. That's pretty much my interest on this team. And then, again, the Doumbia thing, I'll be below the field. Like, if he's really going to be 30+% owned, be well below the field. But I do think I'll have a tiny bit of exposure, especially as a part of a game stack, this is going to be an interesting potential game stack depending on some news we don't have yet.
What do you think of again, I don't want to spend too much on this. What do you think of in baseball when they had rookies with pitchers, they tend to do okay, and then the second time through, the theory is that the hitters catch up and they get more film on them or do whatever. What do you think of some of these like unheard of rookies coming out of the gate, that nobody's heard of them, so no one knows how to guard them, and nobody does whatever. But over time, they, in their first year, they kind of just level off. I used the Dumbo guy as an example or whatever. I mean, I don't know if that's a thing, but it's just something I was thinking about. That's all.
No, it is something interesting. I mean, I think it's probably true for some of the more exceptional players, but I think that everybody else, it has a lot more to do with their own body and breaking down, and then also figuring out more than just one thing to do, and just being explosive isn't enough. So I guess it is some adjusting, but I don't know. I think that it has more to do with the individuals themselves. If they're good players, everybody can have a good game. You know what I mean? When given opportunity, and that's why we're going to have some interest in this next side of the game because.
All right, so you tell me, because I was boy oh boy, I was going to say screw Cleveland, let's go on to the next one. So the closest guy I had to someone I was interested in, I'm presuming that Love is playing, is.
Why are we presuming that Love is playing?
Oh, I don't know. That's what I'm looking at. So, if we're talking he's not going to play, then.
So he gets into a fight with his teammates, then gets into a fight and calls out the general manager publicly again.
Oh, we have this.
So he's dying to be traded. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm going to go under the impression that there's a good chance that he doesn't play.
Okay, so let's do it. So let's say he doesn't play. You want to presume Tristan Thompson in?
First of all, and by the way, if he does play, I think you have to play him. Especially on Fanduel at 6.9. Like, I think there's upside, and then these narrative things can work the other way too.
Well, let's. Are you going to project or presume for at least the time being Thompson in or Thompson out?
So that's the other one. So,
right. So let's talk about it. So last time these guys were both out, it became. So I played the wrong guy.
Well, it's going to be different this time because they're playing Drummond.
Right. But I played someone who's really is not even on the list of players, I don't think. Hold on. I think I had 50% of a guy who I think ended up with like 8 fantasy points, who is it the wrong game? Let's see. Which team was Alfonso McKinney?
Yeah, he's gone.
Oh, he's gone. They got rid of him?
Yeah.
Okay. So good, because that's who I played.
Well, we'll play if Love and Tristan are out.
Oh, so that was the Dante Exum game a couple of days ago. Okay, right. So Henson, and Zizic, right? Those would be the two guys that play. If Thompson is out, oh, what a mess.
And Love too, and they're going to play two bigs together with Christian Wood sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be interesting.
Let's talk a little bit about it. So if they start, first of all, who would they start, Henson or Zizic? We don't know, right?
I honestly don't know, but I don't think.
Would you play whoever's starting?
I would or the backup. Like, I actually think that I prefer Zizic, but I would absolutely take shots on Henson.
Okay.
I just prefer Zizic.
What do you think if these guys were out and you just needed a guy who you just know is going to get minutes? What about going back to Cedi Osmond?
Yeah, Cedi Osmond and Darius Garland would be high on my priority list. As much as I don't love the way that Darius Garland has played this year, and he's basically only like shooting threes, he's going to play 30-plus minutes in a pretty good matchup. He's 4.8 and 4.7, depending on the site. And he's basically been getting there every single game except for one. And the usage would just go up. So I also think the rebound equity goes up. Everything like that goes up. So.
Oh no, I know you're not going to like this take, but I have to be true, and I have to say, because I said it last time. If Thompson is out, I probably don't want to play Drummond. Okay. Because again, it's my concept is that he was going to have probably a really, really good game anyway. And all that Thompson out is going to do is just drive up his ownership more. And I don't think that the extra greatness of the matchup is going to affect Drummond that much. And I don't know if his upside is going to go up that much relative to the way his ownership would go up. So I don't know. I kind of hope that if I wanted to play Drummond, I kind of hope that all these guys were in, because if Thompson is out and Love is out, whatever, but if Thompson is out, isn't Drummond going to be just, I mean, I don't want to say a huge chalk, but he's going to be much higher owned than if Thompson were in, no?
Yes.
And you're going to say for good reason?
I don't think it's going to be as much higher as maybe you think. I think it's going to be high no matter what.
Okay.
But I just think it becomes like a really good game stack. Like, all these guys come in firm play.
Oh,
like
goodness.
Sexton, Garland, and I'm not saying you have to play who to play together. Sexton, Garland, Osmond, Exum, even Zizic, obviously, and Henson. You're going to want some mix of these guys. They have a ton of guards, so it's a little bit more nerve-wracking, except for the guards who are going to have minutes, which are going to be Sexton and Garland. And then we know that Osmond is going to play 30, even if Love plays. Like, I almost wish this game was later so I could speculate. But right now we're going to know information. Now, assuming Love plays, I think it's only Love for me. I don't mind Sexton, but I don't think I would go there. And assuming that Thompson plays and Love doesn't, I would absolutely consider playing Thompson, especially as a part of even a little bit of a stack. Maybe play Thompson in either Garland or Sexton, running back with Drummond and Rose or something like that. I don't want to go crazy on this game, but I do think that if those guys are out, it could open up the floodgates, and the usage is just going to be something we haven't even seen before. Not to mention the rebounds, and while they can spread it out in the backcourt, they can't do it in the front court. So guys like Zizic and Henson will have to play minutes. Osmond will probably have to play a ton of minutes because he'll have to play some 4. Those are the guys who would benefit the most, just minutes-wise.
I might tell you, this is a real expert-type stack. I don't know if I have it in me. I not have it in me. I don't know if I knew the right thing to do, even if I were going to stack this. So I wouldn't play Drummond with one of those forwards. I mean, can he get a ceiling with those other guys also getting rebounds? I guess you play the Cleveland guys. I don't know.
Of course he could. There's going to be plenty of missed shots in this one.
Right.
It's one thing I can tell you is there's definitely going to be a lot of missed shots in this game. Rebound should not be an issue. That's why I love Drummond so much. I also do want to point out, though, that like Drummond versus like Dame and stuff, like 500 more. Obviously, Drummond is the better feeling play, but like, when you think about the ownership difference at where it's at right now, maybe you do want to switch a little bit. I think that Drummond you're going to see at 30+% tonight in big tournaments. I can't.
Right. The good news is the game starts at 7, so we're gonna get the news. But again, this it's unfortunately or fortunately, whatever, it's going to be one of those slates where you have to be ready to roll. And if you have access to ownership projections, you know what I mean. Like you really want to. wait as long as you can to make sure that you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Make sure that you're not just insta pivoting to someone who's going to be too chalky. You know what I mean? So make sure that you have your projections, you have your ownership, and you have your instinct all ready to go. Because it is 7 o'clock, which means also that they might come out right at 6:40. Which is possible. So you can prepare, but also prepare to be unprepared. I guess is the best way to describe it.
Fair enough.
All right, Oklahoma City at Brooklyn, and again, I haven't filled anything in because nothing, honestly, has been too thrilling for me. If you want just something to put in just for the hell of it, I'll throw Lillard in. But nothing has been that great for me. Because I have this. I guess Portland Toronto has been the best stackable game right now, but I don't see such great ownership situations yet. Okay, so we'll see if anything comes up. Oklahoma City at Brooklyn.
Lillard, I think, is a pretty great ownership situation, and so
yeah, I think again, but let's make sure that
so
make sure that McCollum plays. All right, so Oklahoma City at Brooklyn. Steven Adams is projecting to be a very, very strong play, and I said the last time he played that he was projecting to be a strong play, and that I wasn't going to play him, and he pretty well smashed me in the face. So he's playing against Brooklyn right now, and all the reasons why you want to play centers against Brooklyn, I guess, all factors into the fact he's projecting pretty well. He's also projecting to be at least when I first looked at this, the top owned player on the slate. This before we're not talking about Giles yet because we don't know the news yet, but Adams and Sekou, the two highest projected players. To me, it seems a little, I don't want to say dirty in the wrong way, but it seems a little strange to have Steven Adams being the highest owned player on any slate, if you want to know the truth. But he is projecting to be, a pretty good play. I have no issues in a GPP fading him, especially considering, he's just, for me, not that ceiling type guy. With that said, I think he had one in his last game. So he is projecting to be the best, at least when I'm looking at the OKC guys. Then you're down to Chris Paul, and then the guys like Shea and Gallinari, who spoken about frequently as being those guys I just don't like to play in GPPs as far as upside goes, unless there's a real big reason to. And they don't project all that great. And Schroeder is priced up to the point where I don't even want to play him as that upside OKC guy. And on Brooklyn, I think I'm out for a little while. I don't know, especially if what's his name comes back and plays today.
He's going to play, I think.
It's rough now. I could always go back and just keep taking shots at Jaren Allen and get frustrated, and that's certainly possible. I could take a shot at Dinwiddie and Allen for that correlation, and that get frustrated. I don't want to play guys like Prince and Harris right now with LeVert back. I think it just takes exactly away from them what they don't want taken away from them. And I don't know. I'm kind of off of this game.
Yeah, I get it. And they spread out all the minutes in Brooklyn. I'm on the let's stay a little bit away from Steven Adams at chalk here.
Okay.
It does worry me that his last 3 back-to-backs, he's had 40-plus fantasy points in each of them, but that's not even going to kill me at 6 points.
That's nothing.
What am I worried about here? With Steven Adams fading at that guy, I don't think he's going to end up this chalky. And I think on Fanduel or something like that, where you need to play he's not I get it. I understand why you want to play him, but I just think I'm on the back-to-back. I'm going to try and find as many reasons as I can to not play Steven Adams at 6.6 as chalk. And I don't really need to feel that bad about it. So I'll have some of them, but I'm going to have less of him than most.
I just had this vision of playing him as chalk, and then on a back-to-back, having played 35 minutes the night before, midway through the third quarter, he'll be there on that. You know how he's sometimes off the bench, doing his back stretching, and whatever it is. You don't even know if he's in the locker room or not, and you're like, oh my God, is he ever coming back? And it's just, I think, like I said the other day, my blood pressure's low enough. I don't need to have it raised by worrying about Steven Adams getting 26 minutes as chalk. I'm just not interested.
It is just a little bit worth. I mean, obviously the team is different. They're making a run right now, and they don't have him well. So he's obviously a little bit more locked into more minutes than usual. But Mccollum, maybe he gets hot, and that'll take some minutes away from him. Hopefully something like that happens, because I'm going to be less on Adams. I do think that people will just completely avoid Taurean Prince, and I think that's wrong.
Okay.
I don't think that he's dead at all by any means with the addition of Karis LeVert. I don't feel overwhelmingly excited to play him. I don't feel like everything is great, but at 5K, he definitely has enough upside to where you can play him. I mean, this guy has been just awful shooting the ball. I think he's shooting like 20% or something over his last 10 games. It's like, it's actually scary. 2 for 11, 4 for 11, 4 for 13, 3 for 13, 6 for 13, 1 for 10. I mean, it's like shocking. 1 for 9, like just horrible, 2 for 12, like terrible shooting. And he's still putting up in that range. If he can get a little bit hot anytime, 35 to 40 fantasy points is in the realm. He's also a double-double possibility because he does have the rebounding upside, and LeVert doesn't affect that really. But otherwise, yeah, it's hard to like anything. I think that to take a flyer on Jared Allen or DeAndre Jordan would make some sense. And it's weird that no one's going to play Dinwiddie all of a sudden, because I don't think that, like, even with LeVert back in limited minutes, I think Dinwiddie at this price is probably in play, but certainly not someone you want to prioritize. Mostly you want to cross this game off, but I do think that splashing in these guys in multi-entry GPP players makes sense.
Okay. So I mentioned before yesterday's slate that the two teams that basically tilt every slate nowadays are the Wizards and T-Wolves, because they just keep on announcing their top player as being questionable, and it just puts a lot of stress on the DFS community. Let's put it that way. So I'm just going to just continue to operate on the assumption that Karl Anthony Towns is out until further notice. I wish they would do the right thing and like just kind of announce him out or put him on injured reserve or do whatever it is they have to do. But I'm going to continue to operate under the presumption that he's out, and I'm going to operate under the presumption, oh, good, he's not even on the injury report anymore, that Wiggins is in. So I have two opinions on this game. So from a projection standpoint and whatever his value goes, I think Wiggins looks like a really, really good play. And aside from him, nobody really pops to be that great for me in Minnesota. Like Covington would be my next guy. I guess I'm just going to let Dieng just get 70 every night and beat me every night, I suppose. But at least now it's not. At least we know that he's going to start beforehand, I suppose. You don't have to worry about waiting on Cat, I don't think. But I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to play him. I am not quite going to get to Napier. And the one I worry about, I wonder if it's like just kind of a sucker bet to just take a shot at Teague at 4,700. So I would
ask you. Sucker bet not to.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, because he's looking like, how could I not play Teague at 4,700? He's not projecting that well, and you know that Napier's playing better. So I'll ask you about him. But aside from
Teague is banged up though, wasn't he?
He has been.
Yeah, he missed those 3 games or 2 games, and they brought him back. He only played 17 minutes. I think you have to speculate in these spots. Like this is, we saw it earlier in the year. He went through a stretch where he wasn't playing as many minutes, and no one played him again. I think it was against Utah, and he put up 50.
I remember that.
No one had played him because they said he couldn't get above whatever, and no one played him against OKC, and he put up 55. With these guys off, you just got to assume the minutes that he's in. If he's rolling, which I think he could be, I mean, it's a great tempo matchup for both teams. And I'm looking for guys to play, and it is tricky, which is weird, because they really did price them in a funny way. Like Covington is not all that exciting, although I think he's fine. But I do think Teague is the guy with the upside. I love Wiggins. I'll be overweight on Wiggins today. Yeah. I don't think he's going to shoot 2 for 19 again. And even if he does, he's still going to put up 35. So
you know what? Let him shoot 19 shots and see what happens.
He'll shoot 19 shots. Promise you that one.
I mean, if I sign him up for 19 shots, I'll take a shot.
There you go. There we go.
So I have something for you on the Memphis side. Okay. So now the funny thing is, I
want to know what I'm missing with the Teague thing, because I'm a little bit worried that I might go just crazy with this play. And I know it's very speculative, but it's one of those where if it hits, you get to run away with the night. Like you can mix it into everything, and there's no like this guy. This is like a potential 10x. That's what's crazy.
Well, the thing that you hit on, right, is that before T got hurt or whatever it was, and he was definitely the starter playing all the minutes, and then something happened to him. So Napier got his shot, and Napier has been playing great, but I know that they probably want Teague to be that better player. You know what I mean? Like,
don't they want to trade him at least or something? Like,
but in either case, he's one of those self-correlating guys. I think if he's going to have, they're not going to give him the minutes that they want to give him. They'll give him the minutes that he's earning. So, like, if he's playing well, they'll run him. You know what I mean? They'll let him they'll screw Napier, sit on the bench, let Teague just do his thing. You know what I mean? So I think that, again, he's not going to project all that great, which is good because he's going to be very, very low owned. Mm-hmm. And again, he's definitely got a lowish floor, but I think he definitely has a decent amount of upside here.
Yeah, and I mean, and to that effect, I mean, I just want to point out how matchups make a difference, and this is a really, really good matchup. So I mean, no one's going to want to play Jarrett Culver at 5K. I'll take a shot. I mean, first of all, he got me there 3 out of the last 4, right? This is another really good matchup. I understand there's some guys who've been hurt, 3 out of the last 4, 30, 41, and 34. He's playing. I understand that with Teague, I don't understand why the minutes are projected at quite as low as they are for him, because he's been pretty solid in that 30-plus range. But I'll take a shot with him, and I'll take a shot even on a guy like a Kogi in hopes that he might get a minute back. It's probably not going to end up being something I do, but I just want to we don't know their rotations, how they're going to work out. So I want to speculate on this spot because the spot is so good. I want to get a tiny bit of exposure to each of those guys, but I do think Teague is a guy I might, if I can somehow find a way to get him more minutes, if I can look into it a little further, if I think he plays 26+ minutes, I just think we're going to have to take the advantage and play him over everyone else.
I think Culver's awesome. I don't think I don't know if he's such a great play necessarily, but I mean, I know what I saw a couple of games ago when he dumped over, what's his name? Robin Lopez. I mean, this guy can play. I mean, he's a rookie, whatever. So he's gonna have his whatevers, but kid could definitely play. So I'm with you on that. So I have something for you on the other side if you want to screw around, I guess, a little bit. So if you want to stack the game, you want to play some other guys. I mean, the natural guys are going to be the kind of a shitty projecting Giannis Valanciunas, who always has that upside to score as many points as you need. And then you could play literally any of these guys, like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Morant, and Jay Crowder could have another good game. But I'll tell you who's been playing great. Now, I don't know if he's going to get the minutes needed to do what he's got to do, but Melton has been playing freaking great. At 3,700, he's going to be one of my Giles pivots, or maybe I don't even need one. But he's playing very, very well, and I don't know if he's going to get the minutes needed to do what he does, but I will definitely going to throw him into my pool of applicants. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to him actually myself personally, but I get it. I think that I have mild interest in a few guys on this team. I like Dylan Brooks at 4.9. I think that's too cheap. I like the matchup, and I think it's a spot where 30+ fantasy points seems like a very, very realistic probability. I feel similarly about Jay Crowder, and look, we just saw his monster upside game the other night. I'm not going to say he's doing that, but he is doing more creating. He's had 15 assists over his last 3 games. I like the idea of his upside, and I love this game environment, so I'm looking for excuses to play it. I love that no one's going to play Joe Val. I wish that Towns was playing. Joe Val can play against big guys. I don't care. And I don't know. I want to play him. I think he's a terrific speculative play. I just obviously we all hate the minutes, but he can put up 60. I mean, again, this is a great matchup for him. Jaren Jackson, also a guy who that's where I'm running into troubles. I don't love any one of these guys individually, but I see the upside in each of them in a supreme matchup. So
So do one. You know what I mean? Do one in one lineup, one in the other, one in the other.
I think it's what you want. I think you want to try and find one guy, maybe 2 from Memphis if you're going to stack. But I mostly am looking at rotating these single guys here.
Right. No, I'm with you. Again, I don't know. Again, I don't know if I'm going to play a couple of them, but. Again, if I did, I'd probably play Morant and somebody just because he's the point guard, I suppose. Yeah,
maybe Morant and Crowder would make sense. You know what I mean? I think that Crowder's a guy because he doesn't need to be high usage. He can do other things. He also does take away some of the stuff from Morant. So maybe a Brooks and Crowder, or a Crowder and Jaren Jackson, or Crowder Valanciunas. Those all make a lot of sense to me in this matchup. It's really just the minutes with him. The guy's a terrific player. I would love to play him more often than I do, but at the price they make him and the minutes, it's really hard to justify.
So we go into these last 2 games, and as you'll see, is a $3,100 guy who I'm gonna be into. And well, let's talk about these games. So first of all, Sacramento at Phoenix. So last night, Sacramento played a very, very weird game. Actually, they played Golden State, and it was really ugly. Okay, Sacramento had like a 30-point lead, and it looked like they were going to rest all their starters. And then Golden State made enough of a run that Sacramento had to play the guys a little bit more. And Rashad Holmes he went out with I don't know, it seemed like a pretty nasty shoulder, whatever. They brought him back after they went to the locker room, so he did sit on the bench with the team for the rest of the game. So it's not like they had to bring him to the hospital or anything like that. But as soon as he landed and was on the ground, I immediately said, okay, Harry Giles season tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a shame because it was one way or the other, because if Holmes plays, he's going back to Phoenix, which is so. But I have a feeling that on a back-to-back, getting taken out of the game, he's just not going to play. And if he doesn't play, Harry Giles at 3,100 is going. Okay, he's going to project as a lock. He's just going to. And what you do in GPPs is going to depend on how much you fade him versus ownership and things like that. So he's a guy that's gonna drive a lot, in my opinion. It's gonna drive a lot of the builds and a lot of the conversation as far as GPPs go. Now, with that said, that's not the end of the story with this game, because it goes both ways. So first of all, on the Sacramento side, the safer play, or the guy who you just know is going to get minutes or whatever, is going to be Bjelica, right? So he could play 5, he could play the 5, he could do whatever. So he is also going to project very, very well, and he's going to be pretty popular also. And you can make the argument that you're certainly going to say that he's, I don't want to say safer or whatever it is, but he's going to be the guy that's going to be less, volatile for people to play, I suppose. I guess the best way to look at it. And aside from that, I don't know if I'm going to go back to Ariza coming off. How many minutes he played? 50 minutes yesterday? I don't know however many minutes he played, like the whole game. But even he's still 3,500.
He's also going back to Phoenix.
What's that? And he's going back to Phoenix, right? So I don't know if they're going to run a 34-year-old guy, whatever, back for that many minutes off of 35, however many minutes he played on a back-to-back. But at 3,500, whatever. I don't think I'm going to go speculate on guys like Dwayne Dedman, hoping he plays. I don't know. I mean, if they announce that he's active and is going to play, then again, you have 2 3K guys that are going to be competing for those center minutes, and you can play both of them or whatever you want to do. So aside from that, Hield projects to be fine. Fox just projects to be fine. And, it's a 225 total with a huge value guy right in the middle of the freaking game. So it's going to be a pretty appealing game to try to stack. But now you go to the other side. And first thing, I can't neglect to mention that Holmes being out, as much as it affects Sacramento, I mean, DeAndre Ayton must be like, oh, please, gimme. Like, give me all the minutes you could give me, please. What am I going to deal with? Harry Giles on defense? Are you kidding me? So Ayton, and I'm a little tilted about this because I was calling like games ago for the Ayton unexpected smash spot, but he's literally smashed exactly as much as people thought he might, and his price has moved up right in accordance with it. There was no opportunity to get that low-owned, cheap opportunity for him. So it just kind of worked out that way. So he's going to, he's not projecting to be that great a value, but I think he might if Giles, if Holmes is ruled out, just because the matchup becomes that much better for him. And I think they finally got me with price with Booker. I don't know, maybe not. I mean, I played every freaking game, and he was 7,000 recently. 7,500, 7,700 doesn't matter to keep playing. He's 8,800. I don't think they got me yet. I mean, especially if I'm going to play guys.
I'll tell you this: they don't have me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna have to keep playing. I'm just gonna have to. I mean, until he doesn't get 50, I'm just gonna have to play him. Who I'm not necessarily gonna play is Rubio. I mean, he always is projecting now to be a better value than all these guys, and it's just not my thing. I don't know what to tell you. Especially if I'm staying. I mean, I'll play Booker. Oubre, these guys are again, they're not going to project all that great, but screw it. You know what I mean? Like in a stack, let's see what happens. So
I just want to point out something really interesting about Booker versus Kyle Lowry.
Go for it.
Because they're the same price, basically.
Yep.
Kyle Lowry is going to be 30+% owned, one of the highest owned players in the slate. Booker is going to be completely unowned. And if you just go Kyle Lowry without Siakam, I think he's 1 for 10 in terms of getting to 50 fantasy points. Booker's had 50 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5. I think this is a spot where, 4 out of his last 5. Like, you're going to get Booker at low ownership, and he's literally like almost like would appear to be a cash game play if you looked at this game log. And you could say, oh, some of those are good matchups, maybe even better than this one. Okay. If I want some interest on the other side, he's going to be the guy I have to make my ways with. I actually don't mind Rubio either, but I'm not really looking at anybody else. It's, to me, I don't mind playing multiple Sacramento guys without anybody, but if there's going to be one guy I want to play on that other side, it's going to be Rubio for the most part.
Okay. So let's.
I mean, not Rubio. I'm sorry, Booker for the most part.
I got you. So let's talk about it. So Giles, let's say Holmes is ruled out. They announced Giles is starting. How much are you playing him in?
They announced Giles is starting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see how high the ownership gets on him. It's gonna be hard not to play him for me. I love Giles in general, but
yeah.
What
if he doesn't play in the projector for 24 minutes?
I mean, you could do a lot of things. Like on Fanduel, you can play Bjelica and other power forwards like instead.
Well, it's interesting. It's awesome you say that, because I was in a chat earlier and somebody made a really good point that on Fanduel, the power forward position has some really, really good plays in there.
Yeah.
So I never really finished my thought about that, how Giles becomes not less playable, obviously playable everywhere. But so what if they announce he's not starting? I don't know who they're going to start.
Here's the way I would do it on Fanduel. If you don't know beforehand, I would play both Bjelica and Giles together.
Okay.
I love that because I think that you're going to get the minutes with them together. I also love the idea of playing one with just Bjelica. So if I had 2 big lineup, let's just say on Fanduel, that's what I would have Bjelica in both. If there was a third lineup, I think you can get open to other conversations, but I still think Bjelica at 4,700 on FanDuel is a good enough play, even if Holmes plays, given the circumstances, that I think it's worth it to go with anyway. And I just, if Fox and he'll end up overlooked tonight, which is possible, this game could play a lot faster than people think. And I just think that trying to get exposure to it, is a really good way to go, especially because we don't have some information that is really important. And if we don't get it till later, you're going to have a leg up on the competition.
Yeah. It's a very, very stackable game. It could end up being a fun game. And I don't want to say I hope he's injured, but I do hope Holmes sits. I would like to see what Giles could do given a decent amount of minutes.
Yeah.
Just from a basketball perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I love Giles' game so much.
All right. So going on to the Knicks Laker game, you're really just not gonna like this.
I'm gonna like it, and it sucks, and I hate that I like it.
No, you're not gonna like this at all. But okay. So first of all, let's look at the stuff that we're not going to talk about, is like the Lakers side. Okay, so on the Lakers side, boy, LeBron James looks like a pretty good play. Anthony Davis looks like a pretty good play. I really can't separate the two of them as far as value goes, and there is amount of blowout risk involved. But I'm not going to talk you off of either of these guys, especially with the value that exists allowing you to get to these guys. So I have no distinction between either of these two guys. You like anybody else from LA?
I hate that I'm going to do this again.
Oh, you're going to do something on the LA side. Oh, awesome. Okay.
I think I'm going to play Rondo.
Okay.
He's 3.6.
Yep.
Even as bad as he has been terrible. There's other speculation about this game, though, too, that I can throw in. What happens if they trade Kuzma before the game starts?
Ooh, that's awesome.
I mean,
what if they trade him to the Knicks?
Oh my God! Well, my dream isn't to trade. I mean, that Bogdanovich trade, while it's out there, please give him to us. I mean, The
Right.
fact that we're asking them to throw in more than just Bogdanovic for Kuzma is absurd. I mean, Bogdanovic is about 10 times the player Kuzma is, would improve this Laker team drastically. Kuzma's nothing. Like, look, he can occasionally get hot. That's what he is. If he plays tonight, I actually like them showing him off. So I think he might actually get so for here, Kuzma's available. But I think it's Rondo. I think that Rondo, there's upside for the minutes, I think, with him. I don't know how this whole Kuzma situation is going to play out. I know that he hasn't had that upside in minutes in a while, but he has had it this year. It's a good matchup. There is blowout risk in the Lakers' favor. I also could see Rondo leading a second, a charge in the third quarter than just sort of staying on the court. Like, I see that as a possibility. It's not like I need to save him for anything. Although Caruso's back, I don't know. I don't love it, but I just think at 3.6, it's going to haunt me if I don't take charge. And it is, after all, a national TV game. Like, don't make him a priority, but Rondo is not the worst play in the world at 3.6. He's 3.
Okay, so here's my deal. You have anything to say about the Knicks before I talk about this?
The only thing I'd say about the Knicks is I really like Julius Randle.
Okay, so I'm going to say something about the Knicks. Julius Randle's freaking awesome play here. I mean, he's going back to freaking LA.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even Laker revenge. It's also sneaky AD revenge, right?
It's a horrible matchup. That's the only thing. You get the best defense.
Who cares, right? So he's going to be 0% owned, all right? And he's not going to protect all that great, okay? So that's not even what I want to mention. So everybody, please turn off your sets.
I know what you're going to say. You keep acting I don't. I know exactly. Here comes the Reggie Bullock pitch.
Here comes the Reggie Bullock pick. All right, let's do this. How about this? Let's go. Ready? I hope everybody can hear this. Ready?
Reggie, what's your interest level in terms of returning to the team? Very high. I love this city. I was here my first 2 years of my career.
Turn it up.
Friends here, I don't have really
It is up.
respect. It's a great organization. I was a fan of this organization throughout my life. They have much respect for me. I have a lot of respect for them. And they welcome me with open arms. So it's a high level of interest.
All right. Then, okay, we will go to this, which is the game log. Boy, I see 15, then 19, then 25. Okay? All I will tell you is this. I'll make a suggestion. If you play guys in the earlier games and you're not doing well, and you have Harry Giles at 3.1 at 70% ownership, I would strongly advise that you do this. How about that?
I think that's really interesting. I actually have Harry Giles on my list as to be above the field. I'm sorry, Reggie Bullock on my list. I think that there is upside. I think he could get minutes if the game stays competitive, especially. The Knicks have been playing okay, and you have a funny little sneaky late game hammer with,
Hell yeah.
Randall, Reggie Bullock, and you run it back with Rajon Rondo.
and maybe somebody like Anthony Davis.
Maybe AD or LeBron. I have interest in both, but I don't feel like overwhelmingly in love with either. To be honest, if it was in New York.
No, of course not. But but I'm not even kidding. If I am not toast, but if I have the opportunity to do it, and if I have Harry Giles and I need it, I will 100% go off of him and to Bullock just to see what happens.
The funny part about this whole thing is, though, Randall is going to end up playing some 5, which I much prefer because neither one of those guys want to come out at all. So once he gets and he can get his body moving, his steam up, like, I don't think AD is a good matchup for him in general, but I really, really like this spot. I think Randall is definitely one of the better tournament plays, but I do think he's going to have ownership.
You think so?
I think it won't be crazy, but I think he'll have ownership. He projects well enough, and we know, like, if there are players who narrative things, people know the kind of guys who matter, you know what I mean? Westbrook or Randall. Randall's the kind of guy who's going to try and put it down their throat. That's what he's going to do. Yep. I totally agree. And he's done it, by the way, before. I've been on the other end of this. I've seen him put up 65s and 70s. Now, it was a different situation, sure, but we didn't have AD at the time, but it's definitely in the realm of possibility, and Julius Randle could end up being one of the higher scoring players tonight. I also could see a downside where he gets in foul trouble, gets in an argument, gets teed up, a lot of different things that could happen. But I think he makes for a great tournament play.
Who do you like more between Davis and
Davis.
or LeBron?
Davis in these kind of games always for me. I like LeBron in games where we need him. We need him. I like LeBron in the spots where I feel like there's really going to be a threat. That's when he tends to go off the most. You know, he gets that extra, the 38 minutes instead of the 34 or the 35 or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter the minutes so much. It's more just I'm playing LeBron to try and get 65, 70 points. I feel like Davis is going to be able to get me there on these kind of games a little bit more. He's also a tiny bit cheaper. That's just a little bit where I'm at. I think that it's sort of turning over. LeBron is deferring to him a lot, except for when he needs to. So I just don't see him like I don't see LeBron scoring. I think he's going to score around 60. I don't think that means you can or can't play him. I don't have a strong take one way or the other. I just know that for myself, I think I'm avoiding them mostly. But if I pick one, I also think Davis is going to be the lower owned. So definitely leaning a little bit more towards Davis. Also eating at the power forward spot a little better than the point guard small forward. Just a slight edge to Davis overall.
I feel, having gone through the slate with you, that I feel a little bit better about where I want to go. So I want to make the Phoenix Sacramento stack work because, like you said, these Phoenix guys, and again, you can't have everything. You can't have well projected guys that are going to be low owned. You know what I mean? It's hard to get that way. So I'll be more than willing to eat a little bit of projection integrity, as I like to say it, and take shots at the Phoenix guys that are going to be low owned, even if they don't project all that well, in the name of filling out a good stack as well, and in the name of good upside. I think I'm also going to – it's going to be really, really difficult, but I want to try to make this Minnesota-Memphis thing work. I don't know exactly – I mean, I like – Wiggins has got to be a part of it, right? I think, like you said, Wiggins and Teague could be kind of an interesting way to go about that. And on the Memphis side of it, it's very difficult. You know what I mean? Like, there's Morant, there's, you could go Melton if you wanted to. That'd be my off-the-board thing. Or you could go or Valanciunas, like you said, or all of them. Jay Crowder, Jaren Jackson Jr. It's going to be more difficult to find the right guys from. And I don't know if I have it in me to do this Detroit-Cleveland thing. I'm just so – I guess you have to see what the news is or whatever, but I might end up just kind of letting you win that one. And I don't think Portland, Toronto is going to be that stackable given the ownership of Lowry. You know what I mean? So I don't think I want to do that. So I might end up using Lillard as maybe one-offs and combining it with some of these stacks or something like that. And then I'm going to totally take a shot at this Laker thing. I'm definitely going to play something with Randall and LeBron, or Randall and Davis, just for the hell of it. And the hell if I'm not going to have something with Bullock, hashtag just in case. You know what I mean? So, right. There's no way he's getting 40 with me not having something. You know what I mean? And I also think that he could get blowout run, by the way, if this game does blow out. Just because
actually, it's another good point, and I think he does belong on the list. And again, there's other, we have other pivots obviously with the Giles situation, depending on what happens there.
Sure.
But I'll just go through real quick my favorite guys as of early this morning. Like assuming the cat's out, Wiggins, assuming that Holmes is out, Bielitsa, although I'm willing to take chances anyway. Andre Drummond, Julius Randle, Damian Lillard. And then I've got the Jeff Teague, Harry Giles. We'll see where I want to end up with Jeff Teague. And then Harry Giles, obviously we need to have Holmes out. And then you get into the Lowrys and the Foxes and the Fields and those guys, assuming that Love isn't playing, in which case I would prioritize Love right with those guys. And then the wild cards, the Rondo and the Bullock guys, I'm looking at it to save money.
I like it.
All right. Well, we're going to have a fun one tonight. Guys, shoot us any questions. Please give us the like and the thumbs up. We know we did a long one. Let us know what your thoughts are. And we touched on a couple FanDuel plays, but if you have any specific questions about FanDuel, please hit me up. And, hey, let's crush tonight. Sheets, any final thoughts?
Nope. Sounds good.
All right. We're out of here. We'll talk to you guys a little bit later. Good luck.